Gothic horror. It is scary, but only in two very specific ways. It can be fancy scary, like in Dracula. Oh no, I have to have dinner with the Count in his big old castle. Or it can be sexy scary. Oh no, a fully nude Monica Bellucci is attacking me in bed, and she brought two friends. Help. 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 The year is 1820, and an American man named Washington Irving writes a short story called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow while on vacation in Birmingham, England. The year is 1999, and Tim Burton releases an adaptation of Sleepy Hollow, the second installment in the surprisingly extensive, pale Johnny Depp cinematic universe. Technically the movie is rated R, but we are talking prime Tim Burton here, and so naughty boys like me actually watched it when we were young, which is forbidden.
Right to jail, right away.
At the time it was the scariest movie I'd ever seen, and it did traumatize me a bit, as you can see on my trauma map. Then, a few years later, I watched Audition, and that's when I realized that Sleepy Hollow was actually good vibes. And to face my childhood demons once and for all, I recently rewatched Sleepy Hollow, and yeah, I can say without arrogance that it's a level of horror that even I can handle.
I don't know, sometimes it felt like we were making a Scooby-Doo episode with some of this Scooby-Doo mystery.
The first shots of this movie are close-ups of a wheel. We cannot see much, but there is mention of a corpse, a grave and burial. Yeah, it's a bit edgy and dark, but we cannot complain. It's Gothic horror. We signed up for this.
That's why I'm here.
We then see a man in a carriage pondering the true meaning of Halloween until he hears a sword and realizes that his driver has been decapitated. And that is when I went, here's the trauma, it's all coming back to me. See, lots of people will be decapitated in this movie. That's kind of its thing. I mean, at its core, Sleepy Hollow is not a romance and not even a mystery, but it is straight up about a headless German removing people's heads. And that's why it's good. But look, I'm old now, and I've seen too many movies, to the point that, for example, this scene doesn't scare me. I'm too distracted by the absurdity of the situation, where the production intern has to spray ketchup on Johnny Depp's face, and every time they had to reshoot the scene, Johnny had to clean his face and do it all over again.
90% of the time we were just squirting blood on him.
Meet Ichabod Crane, our protagonist, who randomly finds corpses in the river. There is no explanation as to how he was first on the scene, but he probably used science. Because Ichabod is a detective, but also a man of science.
To solve crimes, to detect the guilty, we must use our brain.
But his curiosity and reason are not shared by his peers.
Are we heathens?
In fact, he is so alone that he even had to make his own tools.
What manner of instruments are these?
Some of my own design.
But Christopher Lee, who is totally not Dracula,
He is Dracula.
offers Ichabod an opportunity to prove his worth, solve the crimes in
Sleepy Hollow.
and maybe he will show that this science thing is worth pursuing. Now, in some movies you might expect reason to triumph over pagan beliefs,
Murder needs no ghost come from the grave.
and that Ichabod and his scientific methods might return from Sleepy Hollow as heroes, and herald a golden age of scientific discovery and autopsies and microscopes. But this is Gothic horror, so no. It's Ichabod who has to admit defeat.
But it was a headless horseman.
Of course it was, that's why you're here.
No, you must believe me. It was a horseman, a dead one. Headless.
I know.
He's squeamish, keeps fainting,
First male action adventure hero who's portrayed like a 13-year-old girl.
and refuses to leave bed after seeing the Headless Horseman. Well, that's pretty relatable actually. And it all builds up to the movie's final battle.
Here we had the climactic girl fight.
Which brings us to... There are women in this movie, 6 of them. They all die, except for Christina Ricci because she ends up with Ichabod. Yeah.
Do you think me wicked?
And Gothic horror must be sexy scary, so the women are all pretty, except for this one, scariest moment of the movie right there. Thankfully, it is revealed later that she's actually cute, and that all the women were pretty all along, and everything is at peace. In fact, there is a whole side plot in Sleepy Hollow that I will call the Battle of the Five Cleavages. The winner is probably Ichabod's mom. This overhead shot was absolutely necessary for the plot. Normally, if you're a teenager, then that is the moment when your entire family walks in the room and politely asks, what the hell are you watching? I am now going to take a brave stand and say that the ultra-sexualization of Ichabod's mom makes the flashback scenes to when he was a child a bit weird. But to be fair, the cleavage is not entirely pointless. It serves as an opposition to Ichabod's father. She's the Esmeralda to his Frollo. Also, she was Tim Burton's partner at the time, so there you go, a little bit of meta commentary right there. Tim Burton likes sheep, and you should too.
Tried to stick in sheep wherever I could. I don't know why, but I just like the sound of sheep.
On the live commentary, Tim Burton trolls a lot of his actors, but none as much as Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey and his wig. Myself and the crew constantly marveled at that wig every day. In fact, we still talk about it. That's right, let the wig do the acting. We were freezing during this scene, except for Jeffrey's head that stayed warm.
The Headless Horseman's head is played by Christopher Walken. But do you know who plays the Headless Horseman when there is no head? Here's a clue, this man is involved. And this one. The answer is Ray Park, who played Darth Maul.
This is my apprentice.
And he cuts this guy in half, just like he was cut in half in Star Wars. So, pay it forward, I guess? Look, I just like this movie. Yes, it can be very silly. But something about it just works. I really don't know what it is. I have no idea. But if I had to give just one argument, I would say that the juxtaposition of Gothic horror elements with comedic relief and youthful innocence creates a unique and mesmerizing fairy tale quality, and many tried to copy this style but few succeeded. In fact, they're planning a reboot of Sleepy Hollow. Well, I'm not sure why they would call it a reboot, since it would just be another adaptation, but anyway. The director of the reboot currently has 3 writing credits on IMDb, with an average of 5.4, so you know, what could go wrong? And so I'd like to end this video with the wise words of Tim Burton.
Jumping sheep. Yeah, very happy.